Hello, everybody. This is my virtual tour of the United States Supreme Court building. It is in Washington, D.C. It was built in 1935 and inspired by the architecture and ideals of ancient Greece. I will go through 5 stops, beginning with the grand steps and Corinthian columns in the front, then the pediment, the Great Hall, the Great Hall's frieze, and lastly the Supreme Courtroom. We'll be looking at the building with an artist perspective focused on design and a humanist perspective focused on meaning and cultural significance. The first stop is the grand steps and the Corinthian columns. So the photo on the left is the U.S. Supreme Court building. You see the massive marble steps there. And on top of the stairs, there are 16 tall Corinthian columns decorated. They are all 47 feet tall and they run across the front. The photo on the right is how the Parthenon looked, and it shows how much the Supreme Court building really took from that. Viewing this with an artist perspective, we notice that the Corinthian column style is the most decorated of Greek columns. The capitals of the Corinthian columns are decorated with acanthus leaves and scrolls. The symmetry and proportion are inspired by Greek buildings like the Parthenon, which we viewed, and its photo is right there. You notice how balanced each of these buildings look. From a humanist perspective, we can see these columns as a symbol for stability, and the balanced, symmetric look can be stability, trust. It can make the building look strong, and the wide staircases inviting. Our next stop is the pediment right above the columns. In Greek architecture, we have seen pediments used with sculptures telling a story. The pediment on the Supreme Court building shows ideals like justice, liberty, and order as those figures, and with the writing equal justice under law. Looking at this with an artist's perspective, we can notice the same triangular pediment that is depicted on how the Parthenon looked and how many other ancient Greek buildings look. Looking as a humanist, we can notice the 3 central figures are order, liberty, enthroned, and authority. Those are the names of the 3 figures there, which shows the intent and cultural significance of this pediment. The third stop is the Great Hall, which is right inside. It's an impressive hallway with 24 huge marble columns topped with a very decorated ceiling with rosettes and patterns. Looking from the artist's perspective, we can see that the marble is very bright and beautiful, and we also notice the ceiling lightens the weight of the structure visually. And the marble might make the building look more powerful too. From a humanist perspective, this beautiful hallway is a space of it's a very important place where history is shaped. Now, still inside the Great Hall, I wanted to stop at the friezes along the walls. So there is a series of reliefs on the frieze, and so here are 4 of them. So on the left, it's Solon, a respected lawmaker from Athens. He's known for laying the groundwork of democratic legal codes. To his right is Zeus, and then Mercury, who is the swift passenger of the gods associated with communication, and finally Minerva, the goddess of wisdom. I thought this would be an important stop because it shows how we admire some of the figures from ancient Greece, like Solon and some of the mythological figures. From an artist perspective, the high level of detail on these and the other representations of them in the building are show how important these figures are to us today. And from the humanist perspective, we can see how law has been formed for millennia, and how it happens. What happens in that building is building on towards our future, including Solon from Athens, and the rest of them shows some respect for the ideas of Athens and lawmaking and democracy. The last stop is the Supreme Courtroom. We can see the Ionic columns around the benches where the justices sit, and the same symmetry we have seen repeated throughout the building. We know the columns are Ionic because of the scrolls at the top, and they don't have all the artwork like the Corinthian columns do. From an artist's perspective, we might observe that the symmetry in this and throughout the building can give a feeling of authority and balance, which is important for a courtroom. We also notice that all the surroundings lead the eye kind of to that middle there. So from a humanist perspective, we see how this is really where we use all the ideals that surround the building and build a future. So in conclusion, we have seen that the Supreme Court was designed to embody some of the ideals of ancient Greece, and also adopted many of ancient Greek designs. Viewing as an artist, we saw how they used symmetry and other techniques to make a balanced and powerful appearance. Many of the same designs were just from Greek buildings, especially the Parthenon on the exterior. From the humanist perspective, we saw how the building was a symbol of the values that we hold, including balance, fairness, and the rule of law. The architectural choices were definitely inspired by the Greeks. I think that they chose the architecture to embody the ideals they had in ancient Greece. Ancient Greece is very significant as a nation that values democracy because of the development of democracy in Athens and great thinkers like Plato and Socrates in ancient Greece. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the tour.